Hi, everybody. This is day 1,223 days since the code red. Well, the time frame of the code red, which would be January through July of 2020. Let's put the light on. Get some light on here. Um, Sorry about that. I just pushed that button and didn't get situated. So, absolutely, January through July 2020, that's the time period where the retaliation happened. And Richard, uh, what that proves is that Richard was making complaints, was a threat before January of 2020 or early in January of 2020. But I believe before then because of Boleyn's testimony that they already had, um, had a sour relationship, and she was just going to use him. And so at the end of January, she called him to set him up, to set him up with others. And I don't think she came up with the idea by herself. I think that she was groomed and I think she was led to do the things that she did because Richard was a threat. And uh, it's very clear that she didn't act alone. And that, the word that we have from our sources is that she's the one that called the 911 in after they had arrived to that parking lot, to that party. And, that she was the one that pointed out to Jesus Melendez, the canine cop, where Richard was sitting in his car in the parking lot. And, I think at that point, the falsification of the record started because uh, there's no video and there's no, they rather break the law than give us the open records to that day, um, because there's no video that we know of. And if Richard was caught on video doing anything wrong, they would have plastered it everywhere. um, so it's very, very clear that they have no video, or that the video shows that he was totally sober. Um, there's this testimony from Jesus Melendez, the canine cop, that there was an open cup on the roof of Richard's car, but that Richard drove at a high rate of speed across to the other parking lot. I'm sorry, but a paper cup doesn't stay on your car when you're driving at a high rate of speed. So I think at that point, this is just my opinion. I think that the falsification of the record started then, and the true information Alma Trejos, the judge, received, and she exonerated Richard on the 7th of July 2020, and that was registered on July 9th, 2020. And the problem with that is that Major General Clem Coward did not wait to see what the findings were by the judge in these allegations of Richard, which he always maintained his innocence. He always maintained that he was innocent. And yet the Major General Clem Coward came down on him with a hammer called the permanent GOMAR. Now that permanent GOMAR needs to be retracted. And that's something I think we're going to work on, is getting that retracted, because they've retracted everything else. they've retracted everything else in his record. And that needs to be retracted as well. And they even promoted him twice um, since he was murdered. They promoted him twice, which, you have to figure that one out. I don't know. Um, so today is a very interesting day. Let me get on here. That was kind of like the little greeting because we absolutely know that Richard didn't walk away. Here I am. Everything's working fine. Great. Um, so we had a great weekend with family. I hope everyone did too. Um, Coming on late, burning the midnight oil. But that's okay. I'm hoping that we can get a little bit earlier, but we'll do what it takes. That's what it's all about. And today was a very interesting day because the divorce trial between James Courtney Hart and Leilani Hart started. And it's very, very interesting. A lot of very interesting things are coming out of that. So I want to go over some of those things. And now this is a little bit. Um, uh, I'm going to give you the take um, from the first impression. I guess that's what it'll be. And then as this goes on, and we find out more, and our inner circle sources um, give us more information because we have so much information today. Oh my gosh, about files. I wanted to name this files um, being fabricated, falsified, manufactured. There is so much fraud going on. It's just, uh, that's why it's being exposed. That's why they've got too greedy. They've gotten too greedy and they're very messy. And the fraud is obvious now. The fraud, waste, and abuse is so obvious. And it's just pouring out, It's just pouring out. It's just coming up. Those stones are coming up. But I wanted to go over this divorce case. It's so, oh my gosh, y'all, it's so interesting because, in this case of Richard Halliday, and I know that it's connected to the Patrick Crucius case. So everyone has to keep that in mind that the perpetrators, the ones that are up to no good, this circle of criminals, uh, it's the same in the Patrick Crucius case as as it is in Richard's case, her son. And so, and all those roads lead to Leilani Hart. So it would not surprise me one bit if the Patrick Crucius case led to Leilani Hart. That Leilani Hart was, somehow, some way involved in the ideology, the manifesto, the Patrick Crucius, whatever. I don't know. But it would not surprise me. That's what I'm saying. It would not surprise me one bit if she was involved with others in fomenting a hate crime. A hate crime. And this divorce case clearly supports what I'm saying. Clearly. Because James Hart is saying that she is out of control with hate. That she does not have a grasp on reality. That in fact and in finances, she does not have a grasp on it. She's absolutely crazy. Um, And so, that is a huge, huge statement from James Hart, that Leilani Hart um, is involved in something so, so evil that she has suffered mentally, that she can't even be in reality, in fact, or in finances. I think that's what the words were: fact and finances. So she is just. It's going to be interesting what her witnesses say for her, right? Now the witnesses for James Hart will be all the children, and that is, so strange. Um, because why hasn't he, if the children are with him and she is so, you know, uh, out of control as far as mentally and not having a grasp on reality, not on fact or finances, um, but it seems that he doesn't have control over his facts or finances either. But the children are siding with him, are going to be his witness, which is very interesting, um, especially after reading these articles about these sex predators, these incest parents, sex predators, and Leilani Hart claims that her husband um, sexually abused her children, the children. So not all are his children, are her children, um, but she states, I don't know if the girl was, I think I think somebody, I don't know, but that there is definitely this cover up of sexual abuse and incestuous sexual abuse. And what the article stated is that it was a little different than the Roman Catholic Church problems, um, because this was a retaliation, witness tampering, a you know a social retaliation. And we know this from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that they have all these businesses and all of that. And I wonder if they get loans, or I don't know. But that if, and I know from uh, my experience in Tres Dias and my Christian community, those that wanted to leave the Mormon church, it was a very, very, very difficult thing to do because of the social pressure. It was just enormous. Their social pressure is huge. And so, if the social pressure is to cover up the incest and to let the perpetrators continue, right? To continue, they're choosing to let the perpetrators continue. Um, you know, uh, I don't know why the children then would side with him, except for of the social pressure. And, you know, of course, we love our parents. We love our parents. And it is, it's a very, very hard thing. Do I believe everything that Leilani Hart says? Well, she's out of control, right? But I don't understand why she has not been arrested, because she does not have the support of her children. And so you can't, James Hart can't say, well, I didn't have her arrested because I might hurt one of my children that, she's close to, or, that still doesn't understand or whatever. There's none of that there. Leilani Hart is alone. She is alone. She is alone, and she's with her witnesses. That I don't know who they are. I mean, I have the names, but it is, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we learn more about these witnesses. Um, but it seems that from the articles, because I have a note right here that I was like, oh yeah, I needed to say that, that there that the church, or the Mormons leadership is witness interfering, and they're having families attack other families, and that is a horrible social pressure to be under. So I don't know what's going on, um, but I do know that in this divorce, and why is this divorce so important? Because Leilani has direct connection with our son's code red, the retaliation, and we believe the foul play that ended our son's life. Okay? We, and the cover up, and the cover up. And this circle of criminals absolutely, uh, that we believe are responsible for our son's death and the cover up of it include Leilani Hart and James Hart and Dallas Hart. And that's why this divorce, we're trying to glean from this information. And the big news today is that the family has a lot of problems. Okay, has a lot of problems, and when a family has a lot of problems, the problems that they have, they will be tempted to participate in illegal endeavors to, maybe solve some of their problems. And so I think that that is huge news. And what do I mean by that? Um, One, that they have a money problem, that their accounting is showing here in the United States. Now, they might have foreign bank accounts. Okay. I lived in Germany for a long time. I lived in Ireland for a long time. And we had an Irish bank account, of course. We had do we have a German? I don't think we ever had a German bank account. We had an Irish bank account. And, you know, we had to have that to pay the bills and all of that. So if you are connected to another country, which Leilani Hart is, if you are connected to another country like James Hart is connected to the Philippines and Leilani Hart to Samoa. And it is interesting that a Samoan is one of her witnesses is a Samoan. Um, so, which is, not abnormal or anything, but I'm just saying, a Samoan leader, not just a Samoan friend, but a Samoan leader. So that is, it paints a picture. All of this paints a picture. And the picture is that Leilani Hart is asking for something that just doesn't happen too often in Texas. And that means she wants post divorce maintenance. And she's asking for upwards of maybe more than $170,000 in cash. And that is very interesting because not only does she get like property, like her house, which, um, what's going on? There's so many directions here, so I'll try to stay on one direction so we can follow it. But she wants this post divorce maintenance. That is crazy. Where is her money going? She's 100% disabled. Being 100% disabled, she doesn't have to pay property taxes. Property taxes in El Paso is high, very high. She doesn't have to pay that. She doesn't have to pay property taxes, and she gets benefits. She gets benefits. Um, so, and if she gets the house and, she just, part of the divorce is that she just bought a brand new truck, um, at least $40,000. Uh, you know, so I don't understand, um, but her bank accounts in the United States only have like $30 in it. I don't think she wants to stay here. I think she wants to go to a different country or somewhere else. And I think, this evidence, um, and I have some more evidence. James Hart maintains or lets out of the bag that Leilani Hart hasn't even paid her mortgage for 24 months. For 24 months. So at least 24 months. So that tells you something. She doesn't want to stick around. She is not wanting to put any money into that house. She didn't care about that house. She only has a little, like $30 in her bank account, but yet she gets benefits, full 100% disability benefits. Um, so what's going on? You know? Then on James's side, uh, he he has a major problem. He has a credit card problem. Um, yeah, let me make sure I'm reading this all right. She has a credit card. He has a credit card. James Hart is up to his neck in debt in the United States. Is he trying to get to the Philippines? I, this is just what because don't tell me that he cannot manage his money. He is an apt man. Okay? He might be a criminal. He might be up to no good. He might use the talents that God has given him to do things that are pretty despicable. Um, but he's not. He has all his mental faculties. Let's just say that. But yet, his credit cards show a different picture. Like he has 7 credit cards and they're all maxed, or they're all, have a whole bunch of money. bunch like Okay, 7 or 8 credit cards. He's up to his neck in debt. That's what I wrote down. He's up to his neck in debt. Um, so where is the money going? Or have we been so successful in shining a light on them that they haven't been able to do their dirty deeds, their dirty business? And yeah, I don't know, but he has a lot of debt, and um, it's very telling. Now, this claim that they can shut down and make their divorce proceedings private is not true, y'all. Okay, this is why America has prospered for as long as it has. We're a very old country. People don't realize how old of a country we are. We're one of the oldest countries in the world. In the world. Um, and what do I mean by that? Our government system, we haven't changed it. We haven't had a revolution. So we're a pretty old country, and it is based on a republic, and part of the democracy in our republic is that we have um, transparency. We have transparency and we have records so that people can be held accountable, so that we can see what's going on. The light needs to shine so that we can thwart corruption, right? So anybody that wants to close it all down and not have transparency, um, you know, it's that's just not the way America works. That's just not the way. And we need to shine a light on Fort Bliss. Absolutely. And we need to shine a light on this family. Absolutely. They were up to no good. And because we have shined a light on that family, because we believe that they hurt Richard, they are the suspects in this case for the murder of our son. And that's why this is so important to follow. Um, Now, they're suspects and they're innocent until proven guilty, right? But they're suspects, and all the evidence is leading to them, to Dallas Hart, to Leilani Hart, to James Hart, to Tavita Nusa, to Jay Paulin, that's where this is leading. So, and she is mentally super unstable right now. Well, when you lead that kind of criminal life and you do the vile and vulgar things, because another thing that has come out of this divorce proceeding is that they were regularly engaging in sexual threesomes. Um, they're part of this sexual cult thing, um, engaged in multiple threesomes. Um, yeah. So, so that right there proves that there are sexual anomalies, irregularities, I would say, in their marriage and their house. And I think we'll learn more as the divorce continues. The other thing about that I want to mention in my notes is that they had to go into mediation for their divorce, but yet the mediation didn't work. And they had one of the best mediation judges. So, and, or, yeah, and the mediation um, didn't go well. Nothing was resolved. And I think that is very telling right there about the state of mind of Leilani Hart and James Hart, that they can't mediate their problems out, that their problems are so big. And that's why this divorce is really, really important in our son's case, to have some more evidence in the crimes committed against Richard. Okay. because absolutely he was reporting sex crimes. If they're regularly engaging in threesomes, and then she's reporting incest, um, we'll see if that comes up with the child pornography. I don't think it will because that's a big crime. That's a big crime. So, changing subject now. I think I've got uh, my notes covered on that one. There's so much more, though. There's so much more. Um, the uh, I want to talk about Thomas Kane. I absolutely do. Let me pull up my notes on that too. I want to talk about Thomas Kane because um, he had a relationship with Leilani Hart. Okay. And, you know, when you say, when you have a good relationship or a close relationship with Leilani Hart, and Leilani Hart is the main suspect along with um, Dallas Hart in the disappearance and the murder of our son. And, you know, he has inside information and is close to Leilani Hart. And I wonder if he was close to Dallas Hart. I wonder how this all is connected to the Patrick Crucius case. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Um, but when you say that Richard was a good meal for the coyotes, when you say Richard was a good meal for the coyotes and you're friends with Leilani Hart at very close, very close. Um, I don't know if the threesome played a part in this, but if when you say something like that and you are the director of emergency services for Fort Bliss, when you are the chief of security of Fort Bliss, and you say something like that, um, it is so it's so unprofessional and damaging and so disrespectful, so insensitive. You know, when he is saying that Richard Halliday is like Vanessa Guillen and he's food, he's a good meal for the coyotes and he's a Vanessa Guillen. And he's friends with Leilani Hart. Okay. Uh, the other thing is we have it confirmed that he was having affairs, that he was having extramarital affairs. Um, so Thomas Kane is just getting to be an unreliable source, right? And well, he is not doing his duty as DES, right? He absolutely didn't. And, you know, this defamation that and his dereliction, the defamation and the dereliction of his duty is just astounding. Um, yeah, that's so unprofessional. So I wanted to talk about um, his letter that claims um, that the JAG is operating outside of the law, that the administration on Fort Bliss is up to no good, is not is working outside of the law, and that is in relationship to tampering with a key witness in our son's case without having a packet, without doing any kind of investigation, and just with a little investigation. And of course, the person they'd have to investigate would be Leilani Hart. And, so this really damages uh, Thomas Kane. Absolutely. Okay. One other thing is Bob Moore. Bob Moore is under investigation. Um, and he is throwing because he's using these public lawyers, I think so. Um, it looks like he's out of money also, and he is throwing Felix Valenzuela under the bus and Joe Spencer. Joe Spencer and Felix Valenzuela, he's throwing under the bus, which is very interesting because he was colluding, in our opinion, with them because his articles, app, show that. That's where this Giant's Causeway is leading. That he was absolutely a political attack machine for Joe Spencer and Felix Valenzuela, and that the Patrick Crusius case was given everything, all the tools necessary, just like we give our military. We give them everything, and we assume that they're on the up and up. We assume that they are reliable, that they're trustworthy, and that they're going to do a good job. And yet a year goes by and there's no results. And another year goes by and there's no results. And another year goes by and there's no results. And a fourth year goes by and there's no results. They still have not set a date for a trial for the Patrick Crusius state hearing. And, that is just such a breach of trust. And it's very, very clear that they're operating not for the public, um, because now the public has had to pay 4 years of millions and millions of dollars, and we would like to know the accounting for that, right? Because we have over 6 million for Patrick Crusius' case, we have upwards to 20 million for Richard's case, and we want to corroborate that, right, with the actual accounting. And the reason why we even have accounting is to do just this, is to be checked, is to be compared, is to have oversight over the spending of these AUSAs, and have an accounting for their performance. And right now their performance seems to stink. And Bob Jones, who is Bob Moore, who has covered this up for such a long time, is now calling out Felix Valenzuela, who has been living large off of the taxpayers' money, millions of dollars, and there's no results, right? And the same thing with Joe Spencer, living large off of the taxpayers, getting anything that he needs. But where is the case? Where give us justice. And they're not giving us justice in Patrick Crusius' case. And they're not giving us justice in Richard Halliday's case. So, but absolutely, the Patrick Crusius case is, you better believe it, the same people, the same circle of people that, and I'll tell you what I believe is happening. I believe that there is so much fraud, and I put a clip up of a YouTube video of two veterans, a retired E8, and then a sergeant. I don't know what his rank is, Ask Sarge or whatever. And I think it says Grunt Speaks. I think that is the channel on the YouTube. And I listened to the whole thing. We listened to the whole thing. Uh, Pretty vile and vulgar. And these are the good guys. Pretty vile and vulgar, but these are the good guys. I don't know why the good guys can't be get away from the vile and the vulgar. I don't understand that. And I just go up to my husband. I give him a big old kiss because he never brought home that vile and the vulgar. And when I hear this kind of stuff, I'm like, wow. Uh, and I was not, I'm not, uh, what do you call it? I just don't want it around me. But, I mean, because we're spiritual beings. We have to manage our spirit, right? We have to manage the nutrition to our spirit just like to our physical bodies. And I just don't want a diet of vile and vulgar, you know? Um, I don't want it. And you can't escape it totally. And I totally know it's there. I'm not ignorant of that. But these are the good guys, and I don't know, they they choose to have that. It, anyway, uh, so, but what they're saying in the little clip that I edited out is about Fort Bliss and about Fort Hood and how, you know, Fort Bliss and Fort Hood totally connected. Fort Hood now they call Fort Cavazos. If I was a Cavazos family, I would say, hell no, get my name off of Fort Hood. Um, but yeah, because they gave it Fort Cavazos, but then they assigned the dirtiest, the most vile and vulgar general, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. I mean, gag me with a spoon, and it's not even that vile. It's much more vile because our he committed crimes against humanity. I mean, he covered up um, the the finding and the release of our son's remains. I really believe that. I really believe that because all the evidence points to that that's exactly what they've done. And they use this circle of criminals in these very, the choicest of positions to carry it out in the IG, in the CID, in Park University, in the VA, of course, in the VA, in the CYS, in the CPS, at the El Paso Police Department, at the MPs, and of course in the mortuary affairs in William Beaumont Army Medical Center. They have people in the choice family affairs. Um, they have people in the choicest of positions, um, and they carry out this absolutely vile and vulgar criminal syndicate, these crimes that manufacture manufacture all kinds of evidence and witnesses and this, but they also falsify. They steal identities. That this is about stolen identity. This is about falsifying records in the mortuary affairs and mishandling of the remains of the deceased soldiers. And, was this connected to the victims of Patrick Crucius? Because did they mishandle those remains? And I absolutely believe that a lot of very, very bad things are happening in the mortuary affairs on Fort Bliss, and that it happened to Richard. So that is, you know, Bob Moore is using, I'm sure he absolutely knows that a lot of no good is going on because they allow these security breaches on Fort Bliss. And in order to get away with all of their criminality, there has to be a falsification of the reports. And, you know, everyone everyone knows that Fort Bliss and Fort Hood have a lot of problems. And in that clip from Grunt Speaks on YouTube, he says he was at Fort Bliss and his command were falsifying reports at putting our service members in danger, threatening their lives. And, it's just stunning that that came up right when we were looking into it. God provides. And, uh, yeah, it came up on a Telegram post that I follow, and it was just incredible that I even listened to it, that I even had time to listen to it. But I wanted to hear what these soldiers had to say, these old soldiers. And so Rob and I were listening, and we're like, oh my gosh, he just helped us out because he proved that there is documents proving, because he was a whistleblower for the falsification of records, that was happening, and that the sergeant major of the Army uh, said that he would not make E9 because he was whistleblowing on the falsification of the records, and he didn't make E9. And so, as a whistleblower, he was retaliated against. There's so much in that little clip, and I hope that everybody can review it over and over again and understand the crime that he is reporting that is happening at Fort Bliss through that amazing YouTube clip. So, and Bob Moore now knows that these things were happening, but he also, even with his living large tax free status from the IRS, was looking the other way, was participating, I believe, in this criminal circle and with Angela Kachurga. And now that we have put in letters, and I think other people also, he now is inserting himself into the Patrick Crucius case and throwing Felix Valenzuela and Joe Spencer under the bus. And why is he throwing Felix Valenzuela, who this week put out, no, 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 we can't have open records, we can't have transparency, we can't let the taxpayers know how we spent their money. We can't have that. No, yes, taxpayers want to know how they have spent their money in 4 years. 4 years. Year one goes by, they're living large. Year two goes by, they're living large on all of the money given to them to prosecute and defend this case, and they are just not doing anything. And of course we believe that they're involved in Richard's case. Maybe that was what was taking their time, but still they have not delivered in year one, they have not delivered in year two, they have not delivered in year three, and they have not delivered in year four. And now they want to say that we're not allowed to look at the monies, that we're not allowed to look at how they spent our money, that we're not allowed to look at the accounting that costs a lot of money to even be the accountant, right? To even put the accounting together, because we're allowed to look at the accounting because this is a democracy, this is a republic, and there is transparency, and we're supposed to look at that stuff to know how our money is being fraud, wasted, and abused by the likes of Felix Valenzuela and Joe Spencer. Because 4 years for the Patrick Crucius case, absolutely it should have been open and shut case. So, but if there is similarities, if there is intertwining witnesses and with Richard's case, that would come out by the expert witnesses that they paid and all of that. So Bob Moore needs to be put under investigation. He needs to lose his IRS 5013 C3, whatever that's tax-free status is. He needs to lose it because now it's a little bit too late to try to be a journalist. What he's doing is he is simulating, he's faking being a journalist right now, and he can't simulate being a journalist right now because he has article after article after article proving that he was witness tampering in our case, that he was interfering in our son's case, and that he was obstructing justice in our son's case. So, yeah, that is really, really important to let everyone know. So, okay, let's see. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. But absolutely, and I want to leave with saying that Leilani Hart is totally out of control. When her husband, who on the 14th of February, wow, that was not a very nice Valentine's gift, has asked for a mental evaluation, a motion for a mental exam, okay? That he claims that she is not mentally able to know the difference between non-reality and reality. Um, yeah, and that he is claiming that she's cruel and alienating him from his family. I don't understand that because his family is all on his side. I don't understand that. And then she's claiming, and I'll get more, um, that she's claiming that he's stealing like 100,000 from her. Wow, wow. She only has $30 in the bank. Nothing makes sense. James also files a motion to protect his estate because she hasn't paid the mortgage in 24 months. She's not planning on sticking around, that's for sure. Um, so that's that's the big news here. And also, I have not heard anything about the active duty soldier. Of course, no news is good news for the holidays. I'm hoping, pray for him. Please sign the petition that's up there. That's very, very important. And then also the the pending arrest of Leilani. Um, we're still praying and waiting for that. And so maybe after the holidays, we'll hear more about that situation. But that is still ongoing. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Um, so we're going to be focusing, of course, on Leilani Hart. And with this divorce information, we'll be writing the general again to let him know about it, right? To let him know how evil he is by obstructing justice, by obstructing a key witness in our son's case that would help us in his office to get information to find Richard. And yeah, the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. And that the Major General James Eisenhower chooses not to. Chooses not to. But we're going to write him some more letters, and we will let you know um, the responses. So thank you so much, everybody. And I will be back tomorrow. We're really burning the midnight oil again. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing. And